I think on so many different levels, women in relationships, we have a tendency to give ourselves away so much. You can gain control again, you know, even when you do fall so in love with somebody. You know what I mean? And I think that's an important message for everybody, for all women.
Until you're happy on your own, until you have a lot of self-worth and love for yourself and know what you have to offer, you'll have nothing to offer to anybody else.
This drama just got so juicy because apparently Ben's been leaning heavily on his ex-wife Jennifer Garner ever since things fell apart with J.Lo, and hold on to your seats because they might actually spend Christmas together. Like one big happy family. I mean, they were already spotted getting cozy at Thanksgiving, and it's giving major friendly ex vibes. According to Page Six's inside source, Ben and Jen usually split holiday time with the kids, but this year, Garner's going above and beyond. She actually offered to do Christmas together, and you know why? Because Christmas is her absolute favorite holiday, and she's all about keeping things warm and fuzzy for those kiddos. The source spilled that Jen and Ben have a really friendly co-parenting relationship, and she knows the kids had a wonderful time being with both parents on Thanksgiving. But wait, because this gets even more interesting. Another insider dropped this bombshell. When Ben and J.Lo's marriage started crumbling, Jennifer Garner was actually super supportive and even encouraged Ben to save his marriage. Like she was that level of mature about it. She even became friendly with J.Lo. They were texting and everything. Can you even imagine those conversations? But since the split, radio silence between Garner and J.Lo, and apparently Garner couldn't care less. The source said, at the end of the day, she just wants Ben to be happy. Now, here's where people are losing their minds. There's this viral video going around showing Ben and Garner totally flirting in public. We're talking full-on giggles and meaningful eye contact that has everyone wondering if things are getting messy.
You can't plan your life. That's not how it is, and you have to just be willing to go with what happens.
Let me take you back through this absolutely wild Jennifer Garner love triangle because it's been messy for years. Back in 2003, everyone was whispering about Jennifer Garner low-key flirting with Ben Affleck, and get this, he was engaged to J.Lo at the time, the scandal. Here's how this whole complicated love story started. Ben first laid eyes on Garner while filming Pearl Harbor, you know, that movie nobody remembers for the actual acting. Then, like some Hollywood rom-com, he meets J.Lo on the set of Giggly. Talk about an epic flop. At the time, Garner was married to Felicity Hottie Scott Foley, and J.Lo was with husband number 2, Chris Judd. But by early 2002, J.Lo had kicked her marriage to the curb, and Bennifer 1.0 became the power couple of the early 2000s. Remember that iconic Jenny from the Block music video with Ben? Legendary.
He's so
Don't be
fun.
like my mom.
I'm your mom.
Where you're
now.
like, don't do that thing where you're like, he's the best.
He
he's
is
so
though.
good,
I
and
swear,
people
I'm
are
not the
like-
only one who says it. I'm not the only one who says it. Marty Brest will say it. Everybody who worked on that film will say it. He really is great on the off-the-cuff stuff. But I enjoyed it because we could go back and forth.
Yeah, it was like a really fun. You know, the thing about the movie felt kind of special to me.
But here's where it gets juicy. While all this Bennifer drama was going down, Ben was filming Daredevil with Garner. Fast forward to 2013, and Ben drops this bomb in an interview. He actually fell in love with Garner during that movie. He literally said, "The movie flopped, but that's where I found my wife." And honey, he didn't stop there. He went on and on about how Garner helped turn his whole career around and gave him the stable home life he desperately needed. He even called her the most important person in his life for the past decade. But before they could live happily ever after, there was so much drama to untangle. Garner had to divorce Foley, and Ben had to end things with J.Lo. And speaking of endings, who could forget the absolute chaos of that called-off Bennifer wedding in 2003? They postponed it just one day before because the media circus was out of control. They were even talking about hiring decoy brides. Like, what is this, a spy movie?
About to get married, it didn't work out, and it was just a bad heartbreak. Like, you know, just one of those breakups that really, you know, it was like a tough one for me for whatever reason.
By early 2004, Bennifer was officially done, and by March, Garner and Foley's marriage was also history. But here's where the plot thickens. Before all these breakups were even finalized, Ben and Garner appeared together on Dinner for Five, and oh my goodness, their chemistry was absolutely electric. Garner even had this sweet moment where she thanked Ben for not making her do a screen test for Daredevil. The way she said, "I don't know if I ever thanked you for not making me test," the energy was just different. One writer from Vulture even said Garner gave Ben such an intense look of pure gratitude and affection that it still feels awkward to watch. Like, we all felt like we were intruding on something super intimate.
Test with you. I just think
Really?
that there's no more miserable experience.
What, testing?
Yeah, and
Had you tested to be in the movie?
no.
You've done a year's worth of Alias. I imagine that's one long test for them.
No, but you know, it's for your comfort, really. And I don't know if I've ever thanked you for not.
Fast forward to 2005, and Ben decides to make it official. He pops the question on Garner's 33rd birthday after they'd been keeping their relationship super low-key for months. They had this gorgeous private wedding ceremony that same year and went on to have 3 beautiful kids. Everything seemed absolutely perfect until 2015, when their fairy tale came crashing down. Suddenly, these explosive rumors start circulating that Ben was having an affair with the family's nanny. His rep tried to shut it down real quick, but the damage was already done. Ben and Jen announced their divorce that same month. Then Garner did this heartbreaking Vanity Fair interview where she cleared up the nanny drama, saying, "We had been separated for months before I ever heard about the nanny. She had nothing to do with our decision to divorce. Bad judgment? Yes. But what really got everyone in their feelings was when she called Ben the love of her life. Ouch! She described him as this brilliant, charismatic, generous man, but also called him a complicated guy. Girl, we could all see that. Even after deciding to split, they didn't rush into divorce. By 2017, Ben was getting vulnerable about his struggles with alcohol addiction, sharing on Facebook that he'd completed treatment. His statement about wanting to be a better dad and thanking Garner for standing by him during recovery, it was raw, emotional, and showed just how much respect they still had for each other despite everything. His emotional statement hit everyone right in the feels. "I have completed treatment for alcohol addiction, something I've dealt with in the past and will continue to confront. I want to live life to the fullest and be the best father I can be. I want my kids to know there is no shame in getting help when you need it and to be a source of strength for anyone out there who needs help but is afraid to take the first step. I'm lucky to have the love of my family and friends, including my co-parent Jen, who has supported me and cared for our kids as I've done the work I set out to do." This was the first of many steps being taken towards a positive recovery. But the cracks in their marriage couldn't be fixed. When they finally divorced in 2018, Ben told the New York Times that divorcing Garner was his life's biggest regret. But then, plot twist, he goes on Howard Stern's show and says he was actually miserable in the marriage and felt trapped. He even claimed all that tension pushed him toward drinking. Like, make up your mind, Ben.
The truth was, we took our time, we made the decision, we didn't want to show, we grew apart, we had a marriage that didn't work. This was trapped. You know, I was like, I can't leave because of my kids, but I'm not happy, what do I do? And what I did was like, you know, drink a bottle of scotch and fall asleep on the couch, which turned out not to be.
Even after the divorce papers were signed, these two stayed incredibly close as co-parents. But then 2021 hits, and Ben absolutely shocks everyone by rekindling his romance with J.Lo. And while the whole world was losing their minds over Bennifer 2.0, Jennifer Garner just quietly kept being a huge part of Ben's life. No drama, no shade, just pure class.
I mean, what he brings is he empowers me. I was like, I need to write this thing, but I don't write. And he was like, you write it. Even though I have a confidence, even though I am strong, even though I am, brave and all of those things on my own, he gives me that little extra kind of love. And that is a very beautiful thing to have.
J.Lo, being J.Lo, announced their engagement in the most J.Lo way possible through her exclusive newsletter. She gushed to People magazine saying, "We're older now, we're smarter, we have more experience, we're at different places in our lives, we have kids now, and we have to be very conscious of those things." She even got all philosophical about how life took them in different directions, but brought them back together at the perfect time.
Yeah, I always say I fell in love with the love of my life, at that time. And for whatever reasons that we needed to grow and do other things, and we both went off and had children with other people and other relationships. But, in my mind, I always had it oh, that was kind of the one. And
that gave me goosebumps.
And so when we got back together, it was It was really like, I couldn't believe it. I don't think he could either. It's not something we ever planned. We really have moved on with our lives. But when we reconnected, it was almost instant. And we just knew.
And then came those whirlwind weddings in 2022 that had everyone talking. First, they did this super casual thing at the Little White Wedding Chapel in Vegas, and then bam, this absolutely luxurious celebration at Ben's Georgia estate. But their love story wasn't all sunshine and roses. In J.Lo's documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, Ben actually admitted he wasn't too thrilled about her constant need for public displays of affection, especially on social media. He straight up told her, "I don't want a relationship on social media," but then had to backtrack saying, "It's like marrying a boat captain and then saying I don't like water." J.Lo didn't back down though. She said in the documentary that Ben made her believe in herself again, and this time around, she's following her heart no matter what.
Right now, it just sucks.
No, it doesn't suck. That's wrong.
It does.
That's wrong. That's just inexperience, that you haven't done this process before.
I'm sorry that I'm not a winning director.
Well,
I'm sorry.
if I was doing a musical concert,
all the things when I was
if I was
21
in a
years
rock
old.
show, I would say to you, tell me how this goes.
But not everyone was buying what they were selling. Even J.Lo's friend Jane Fonda wasn't afraid to keep it real. She said something that got everyone thinking, "It feels like you're trying to prove something instead of just living it."
This is my concern. Like, it feels too much like you're trying to prove something instead of just living it. You know, every other photograph is the two of you kissing.
This is my concern. Like, it feels too much like you're trying to prove something instead of just living it. Meanwhile, Ben's behavior at these fancy Hollywood events was giving everyone secondhand embarrassment. From looking completely over it to straight up miserable at the 2023 Grammys, the internet turned him into a walking meme. Then the whispers started when J.Lo showed up to the 2024 Met Gala all by herself. The drama intensified when rumors started flying that Ben was living in a separate house, and J.Lo was spotted house hunting solo. An insider spilled that they'd been having issues for months. J.Lo was all about her career and tour prep, while Ben just wasn't on the same page. Then August hits, and boom, the big bombshell drops. J.Lo officially files for divorce citing irreconcilable differences. And get this tea, she filed on the exact 2-year anniversary of their Georgia wedding. The shade of it all. The papers revealed they'd actually been separated since April, so they'd been living separate lives for months.
Ben and Jen had been living apart for months. Last month, Ben bought the $20 million bachelor pad behind me here in Los Angeles. Jen is also in LA, but has spent most of her summer in New York. Now get this, Jen and Ben reportedly don't have a prenup, and she filed for divorce without an attorney.
Without an attorney? Without an attorney.
And no prenup.
Right. And on their wedding anniversary.
And on their wedding anniversary.
So if they had no prenup, they're married for 2 years, whatever they earned or acquired during marriage, to the extent that it's still around, would have to be divided equally.
The first warning signs of marital strife came in February 2023, after Jennifer snapped at Ben, who looked miserable during the Grammys. 3 months later, after a coffee run in Los Angeles, Jen got into the car and Ben slammed the door. J.Lo attended this year's Met Gala alone. In July, they put their $60 million mansion on the market, and Ben was noticeably absent from her Bridgerton-themed 55th birthday party in the Hamptons.
Now here's where this story gets absolutely messy. Apparently, J.Lo felt like a third wheel in her own marriage because of Ben's super close relationship with Garner. Sources say whenever life got tough for Ben, he'd run to Garner for advice instead of his own wife. Can you imagine how that must have felt for J.Lo? And now that he's single again, Ben's apparently taking full advantage of his freedom to talk to Garner whenever he wants. An insider spilled all the tea, saying Ben leans on her for everything. Sure, he's got his own place, but he's always at her house for family dinners. And get this, she even sends him home with care packages of food. Like, is this sweet or suspicious? But wait, it gets better. Garner is supposedly super concerned about his health, reminding him about doctor's appointments, dentist checkups, and even sending him vitamins because she thinks he's not eating well unless she's cooking for him. I mean, is this co-parenting, or are we watching something else unfold? And poor John Miller, Garner's boyfriend, is trying his best to play it cool, but sources say he's definitely not loving how close she and Ben still are. I mean, can you blame him? With all that history and chemistry still sizzling between them, it's gotta be awkward. Then came Thanksgiving, and everyone lost their minds when Ben and Jen G were spotted volunteering together, wearing matching aprons and looking way too cozy. And guess who's absolutely fuming about all this? J.Lo. Sources say she feels like a total fool, especially after those cozy photos of Ben and Jen hit the internet. Now she's wondering if Ben just used her as a stepping stone to get back in Garner's good graces. Ouch! Meanwhile, people close to Garner are trying to spin it like she's just playing matchmaker, helping Ben find someone more grounded and mature. But honestly, who knows what's really going on behind closed doors? This drama just keeps getting juicier by the minute, and I am living for every second of it. What do you think? Are Ben and Jen just really good at co-parenting, or is there still a spark burning between these exes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're the first to get all the piping hot tea in our next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.